Alex, what's the worst thing that the manosphere says?
The worst thing that the manosphere... Oh, that's a hard one. You're going to hit me with a hard one right off the bat. Anytime it's just open like that. Well, I think something that has bugged me about the manosphere kind of up to this point, as far as like the worst thing, is when it comes to evolutionary psychology, taking kind of the dual mate hypothesis and applying this across the board as if every woman is going to immediately leave a man and pursue a short-term mating strategy as soon as she has the opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain a bit more about the dual mate?
Sure. So this is also called strategic pluralism, and it's the idea that human beings, men and women both, have a dualistic mating strategy where we can pursue individuals for long-term mating or short-term mating. And long-term mating would be committed relationships, fewer sexual partners, also kind of related to a slower life history strategy. Short-term mating, basically casual sex, many more sexual partners. Typically, within the context of evolutionary psychology, the idea is that this would secure the genes of a good sire, whereas long-term mating might secure the resources of a good sire. But there's a lot of nuance there, and there's a lot of overlap. For example, most mates that are selected as long-term mates are also selected based on qualities that would indicate good genes, like physical attractiveness being kind of at the top of that. So I think this idea that these are two distinct strategies that, you know, a woman will pursue a man just because she wants his resources, and then the moment that she gets the opportunity, she's going to cheat on him with someone for a short-term strategy to get his genes or something. That's not really well supported in the research. It's kind of a bastardization of the actual hypothesis.
So can you tell me why that became popular in the manosphere and also how it was debunked?
Absolutely, sure. So I think this became popular in the manosphere because it lends itself well to this idea of alphas and betas, which I think kind of reflect archetypes and experiences that people have. Like, certainly we see across society that there are some people in leadership positions. There are some people that are down at the bottom of the social hierarchy. We see, you know, that some people are tall and they're physically attractive and they're strong, and other people are short and they're not, and that sort of thing. So it's kind of easy to categorize a lot of things we see in life into kind of a binary, like, okay, an alpha and a beta, or omega, or whatever you want to call it, something like that.
A sigma male, that's the new thing.
A sigma male, yeah. So yeah, it's branching out now. Now we have all kinds of Greek letter males. So originally this was the dual mate hypothesis of ovulatory shifts, and this is related to the idea that women can pursue a mating strategy where it's a long-term partner who is primarily a resource provider, but to maximize fitness, to secure the good genes, they can cheat during the period when they're fertile, which is why it was called the hypothesis of ovulatory shifts, to secure the genes of basically a better sire in that case. So they have the provider on the one hand and then the good gene sire on the other hand. A lot of this research has not borne out. I think a lot of the idea that mating preferences shift during ovulation has not been able to replicate. But then in addition to that, we see very, very low rates of extra-pair paternity. So it doesn't really seem to be the case in the genetic record or in modern environment or whatever the case may be, that this is really a thing, that women are seeking out, you know, extra-pair partners for the good genes and then raising, you know, raising the child with the cuckold or something like that.
Obviously, you're very active on Twitter, and you do these wonderful threads debunking some of these, or just perhaps exploring the nuance of the manosphere, I don't even want to call it like discourse. How do people who identify as coming from that red pill pickup artist manosphere community, how do they respond when you do such things? I mean, maybe that particular myth being debunked, what do they say?
Yeah, I think it depends on the individuals, because certainly it's not a homogenous mix of people that call themselves red-pilled, or especially the manosphere is not a homogenous group, you know, I should say even further. But yeah, some of the reactions are very positive, and then other reactions are very negative. And I think that depends how ideologically immersed people are within it, and like the extent to which they are fans of perhaps influencers within the manosphere. Certainly, you know, people will call you names and that sort of thing, a feminist or whatever the case may be. But, you know, almost all of my criticisms of the manosphere, something like that, have been from the perspective of evolutionary psychology. They've been very specific niche things like, this is what you guys got wrong about the psychology of mating, basically.